This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. Leaders and members of the Free National Movement caucus gathered in Rawson Square this morning, dressed in all black, for what they dubbed as a silent demonstration. The opposition is calling for an end to the violence and greater focus by the Davis administration to combat the increase in crime in the Bahamas, more specifically here on New Providence. FNM Chairman and former Minister of Health, Dr. Dwayne Sands, says the purpose for today's demonstration is to address the challenge that Bahamian families are experiencing with the steady uptake in violent crimes.
Violence in the Bahamas has increased yet again to the point where at the mid part of the year, June 30th, 2022, we have eclipsed 75 deaths. If this continues at this rate, we will exceed the historic record of homicides in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Each of those victims is not only him or herself a loss, but the loss to families, loved ones, children, grandparents, aunts and uncles, and in particular, children. We applaud the actions of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. We support them. We are encouraged by what they are attempting to do. But we would like to make a gentle but firm prod for the policymakers to understand that it cannot be business as usual.
With the number of murders in the country now at 75 as of Monday night, Dr. Sands is in agreement with party leader Michael Pintard, saying that it is time to sit down to collaborate, as it is a serious time in the country. Meanwhile, in an effort to address crime in the country, the government held a crime conclave in March. When asked how they felt the meeting went, the opposition leader had this to say.
Simply a police briefing. It was not an opportunity for us to have any in-depth discussion about the range of things that would be necessary to tackle crime in general, violent crime in particular. And the police during that session simply talked about their ongoing investigation and highlighted the fact that about 40% of the murders were gang-related. That does not make a conclave. A conclave ought to be the engagement of various stakeholders, taking on board the recommendations that they have there, then, as well as looking back at what some of the previous recommendations are. And again, the government has not moved on those matters. We've had a long-standing recommendation to put in place a crime commission, which brings together stakeholders from various sectors who will work with various ministries on programs that deal with the issue of prevention, deterrence, detection, intervention, law enforcement in general, and of course rehabilitation.
Mr. Pintard says the government should own the challenges the country is facing with the uptick in crime by modifying the narrative that they are giving the public. He says with crime getting progressively worse, agencies of the government should not be claiming that things are getting better, when in fact the contradiction is a reality. Authorities have officially begun the clearing or removing of people off Crown land. That process began on Monday, which ended the 14-day notice for people squatting to vacate the lands. National Security Minister Wayne Monroe told reporters just before the weekly cabinet meeting that the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, wildlife enforcement agencies, the network, BAWEN, and the Department of Immigration have started a series of operations across multiple islands to crack down on those violating environmental laws.
On Saturday, they started at Bonefish Pond National Park. They didn't find anybody trespassing in the national park. They did have a view of two adjacent properties. From an immigration perspective, they apprehended 22 irregular migrants. The nationalities are Haitian, Ecuadorian, and Jamaican. They then completed that exercise sooner than they had anticipated, and because we had all of these accounts of what we would find, and they didn't find it necessarily in Bonefish Pond. So they moved on to Harold and Wilson Pond National Park. That's right off Mile of Butler there. There were, I think it's 2 or 3 arrests by the police with regard criminal warrants and other warrants. They may have apprehended irregular
The same operation at Harold and Wilson Pond National Park is yet to be completed, leaving that area. Carmichael Road and any other areas of unlawful cutting and excavating still to be patrolled. Asked if there has been any hostility during these exercises, the minister says the following.
But as we say at the end of this whole process, we expect law enforcement to have prevented all and stopped all of the illegal actions across these areas.
And you say the team has encountered anyone that's confrontational at this point?
And there have been no reports to me. I know that they speak about the irregular migrant apprehensions. They don't give me the details of that. Or of the criminal warrant apprehensions. They don't give me the details on that.
As for the status of families living on school buses on the Carmichael Road Crownland area, Minister Monroe says the Ministry of Social Services has been engaged with them and are awaiting legal direction from the Office of the Attorney General, adding that he hopes to receive instruction by the time officials begin clearing that area. The Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development kicked off its summer work program on Tuesday for young people between the ages of 15 and 25. The Department of Social Services will host 84 student workers during the duration of the program. These participants will get a first-hand practical experience in the area of social work. Also included in the number of participants are 6 young adults with disabilities who during this 8 weeks will not only become familiar with the department, but also have a chance to possibly become permanent employees. Deputy Director at the Ministry of Social Services say that the goal for this program is for student workers to be immersed in all areas of the department.
Today's session is designed to have an introduction to all of the placement areas where the students will be placed to work. Different ones will be working in different areas. For example, we have child protection, we have the children's home, the community centers, and students here today will be given a brief overview, a synopsis of each of the areas. And the whole purpose is that all of the students get an understanding of the work of the Ministry of Social Service and Urban Development, and particularly that of the Department of Social Services, where they will be hosted.
The 8-week program, 4 weeks in July and 4 weeks in August, will afford the student workers an opportunity to work at various government care homes, such as the Children's Emergency Hostel, the William A. Pratt Center for Girls, also some senior citizens' homes as well. And finally, in an effort to mitigate the impact of growing traffic on operations during what is anticipated to be a busy summer travel season, key stakeholders at the Lynden Pinley International Airport, LPIA, have put in place plans to ensure that passengers are efficiently processed through the airport. Summer projections for passenger arrivals and departures at LPIA are showing continued and steady recovery from the pandemic. Preliminary passenger numbers records for June 2022 are 285,244 arriving and departing passengers, representing around 76% of pre-pandemic passengers for the same period in 2019. NAD anticipates that July and August, which are traditionally very busy travel months for Bahamians, will yield similar strong recovery, particularly with the lifting of certain travel restrictions for the United States and the Bahamas. LPIA is offering several tips to local passengers planning to travel to the United States, other international destinations, or even domestically this summer, including when traveling to the United States, in particularly on peak days, that's Saturday and Sunday, and at peak hours, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Ensure that you are at the airport 3 to 3.5 hours ahead of your scheduled flight departure time. Domestic travel, it is suggested that you arrive 1.5 hours ahead of time. Ensure you are clear on testing and entry requirements, and be ready for security screenings. For more on the summer travel tips, you can visit www.nassauLPIA.com. And that'll do it for your JCN Evening News. Once again, I'm Jareno Saunders. Thanks for joining us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.